So hello everyone, it's me, Katie Indicrow, and today you will see that I have a special guest. His name is Jerome Headley. You might recognize him from Unified Energetics. He also has a podcast going, which I'm going to have to get you to remind me of the name, because you know me and words and names. But Jerome is someone that I've been working with for a long time. He's been a participant in a lot of our community co-creations, and this is the first time I've gotten him to come on camera for a little while, and it's exciting and important because main theme of what we're here to do today is offer some divine integration upgrades and updates to support work along with solstice and the eclipse. And so divine integration means masculine and feminine energies. And so thank you, Jerome, for coming and pulling it down and being willing to come on video with me. It's been a while since I've gotten to talk to someone, and I enjoy it. So if you wanted to go ahead and say, hey, whatever comes up on your heart to the others, and then we can just go ahead as you're ready to flow into it.
So I'll first start with kind of saying where you can find my page or pages. So I have a YouTube page, it's Unified Energetics. Facebook is also Unified Energetics. And then I also have a podcast where I do various recordings of certain events that are going on or taking place, both within myself and within the collective. So that is you can find that on Spotify or Google Podcasts, and that is Crystalline Living. Right. So yeah. It's a very interesting period that we're in right now, and I was actually reflecting on certain things because I recently made a video on past frames of reference, right? And how most people tend to live in their past if they kind of have the energy or their focus, and most of the time it's an unconscious thing, right? For most of us. It just essentially hooks on or latches on to certain past events that may have been traumatic for many of us in many different lifetimes, right? It could be the ancient past, or it can be very recent, or even within our genetic code, right? So I noticed that those frames of reference actually create a looping cycle in itself. So it plays out in our now moment, our present moment, and it has then a cue to then alter the future. So the work that Katie does and the work that I do is essentially anchoring those, almost like creating if you can see like a stargate, right? Creating a stargate or a portal to allow for the consciousness to access higher timeline that is available right now within this time period. So that was
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So basically that's what we're here for today. And so we're just here basically as humble representatives of this whole group and the working groups that we work with. We're here as two souls, but we represent a large effort that's been made and that's been going on for a long time. And so I want to thank the people, the coders, because we've been receiving codes from different groups for the last couple of weeks on this one, knowing that we would be coming together to hold space like this. And I also wanted to just say that as we move forward, this is the layering and effect, right? This is different groups of people with different interests, different soul backgrounds, different cultural backgrounds, different colors of skin, different political intersections, different gender identities. And what we're doing is we're taking the purified forms of who we are, the different stories that our soul groups work through, different histories, different moments, and yeah, we're living them, working them, embodying the way forward. And the way forward here is to also energetically support one another and to shout each other out, and to not, at some points we have to remain quiet as we go about our work. And this is one that we've been waiting to do publicly for, well, not waiting, because that would mean we weren't doing it. This has been something we've been working on for a long time. So I just want to say I'm excited to do this with you.
So, yeah, for real, this is an honor to be able to be present within this time here now, assisting in our own consciousness evolution presently right now, right? And how I saw it as you were speaking is like in part a unification of each of us, first from within ourselves, unifying and bringing together the past frames of reference, and essentially detaching from, or more like processing those frames of reference, allowing them to come into our present, right? This brings back the energy that we may have lost. So I think people call it soul retrieval, right? Or like soul integration in a way. So
A little bit of both, depending on how it's been going. We've been rounding up souls to get to the point where we will be able to help them cross over the next 2 days because of this process that we're offering. But just to interject and to compliment, it's both. The way that we work together, it's both.
So it's even linked to the whole thing with the solstice as well too, in terms of certain gates opening now, allowing for.
Go ahead and talk about that for a minute, please.
So how I see it, especially recently now, because maybe like last year I wasn't as conscious of the energy as I am now, and yeah, how I see it is like we're right now in a phase of the birthing process where this gateway now is going to allow us to, you can almost see it like a fresh set of fresh air or oxygen. So we're moving up into a higher level of density, or a greater field of information that is now coming forth, springing forth into the collective consciousness. It starts with our, again, individual consciousness, our individual levels of awareness to what's going on. And I see it as we're right now like moving through energy that's about to birth out. So it could be, yeah, within the next couple of days, but we're feeling the build up towards that. Collectively, it could be seen as, again, another unfolding of certain processes that will be occurring in our in this hologram, right? And it's gonna be, the most I can say, is gonna be very interesting, and just we must just try to, like, again, keep an open mind, and don't allow the fear to don't play into the fear, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be pretty hard or difficult, because that's our programming, for the collective, right? But we're moving out of that now,
yeah,
and into a more love cycle, right?
And the events that
So,
we're seeing around us, I think, are helping us shore up and process that collective energy that you were talking about. And we're transfiguring it and we're shifting it. And so, you know, kind of building on that, the way that I see the ceremony cycle that I'm involved in right now is that right now we do the divine integration stuff so we help get ourselves right. And at the end of the ceremony, we call forth the codes for solstice. And then as soon as we stop recording, we go keep fucking doing it. And then so if we can kind of do the rollover, because I think you're right, and how we connect to this. How we should connect to all tasks really is get ourselves right, and then once we have aligned, our souls cared for our souls, made sure that we're good, then we call in the highest vibration of experience, because as you're saying, we still have an eclipse and solstice to still happen, and then after that we have another eclipse, and then we have Lionsgate. And so this is very much something that we have the power to create as an enjoyable experience. I mean, the cage rattling and the discomfort, some of the discomfort that we're shifting right now is systemic discomfort that has been forced on very specific groups of people. And it's been done so to keep very other specific groups of people in power. And so there's a lot of energy. And I mean, like, everything we do isn't about what color we are right now, but I'm not going to ignore the fact that, you know, right now I'm in a settler's body. And, you know, I'm connected to lineages that had things to do with being on occupied land. You know, a lot more of my engagements have to do with Mi'kmaq people, but the one thing that is important to think about here is that a lot of people are resisting dealing with social issues and dealing with economic issues because they make them feel uncomfortable. And I think that, you know, I understand that it makes us feel uncomfortable, but I also think that we have to be able, I think you made the point earlier, you know, support each other in our uniqueness and recognize that when we're doing that, that's how we form a collective. And so as we're doing that, one of my big objectives here is to call forth the energy of recognizing our power as a collective and calling forth releasing the veil on false division. Because, you know, I've noticed that there's a lot of language on unity that actually creates division. And you know what I mean? If I want to call myself queer, which I am, I'm going to do that. And no amount of time somebody else tells me that's divisive isn't going to change it. I see queer as a category of inclusivity, and it's something I'm proud to say that I am. And so that's just an example, right? Because one of the things that happened as we moved into Gay Pride Month, people were like, "What? Why are the gay people saying anything?" And it's like, duh, because also us in our own way too. You know what I mean? And it's like if groups want to recognize each other's common bonds and support each other and use this as something, you know, processing through being victims, being oppressed, and to be like, hey, cool, I can hear you, I can support you. You know, we all collectively can be who we are without forcing ourselves to be each other. And that's like the big strand of unity that I also feel happening in the overlapping of the light work and stuff like that. You wanted to say something, please go ahead.
Yeah, I kind of when it was last night, yeah, when I was meditating, like my consciousness kind of told me like, yo, if y'all really expect to have communication with on a collective level, at least with extraterrestrials and different star nations and stuff like that, you have to deal with what's going on first inside yourself in terms of the division that's occurring, and then the unification of the collective. And we're in different skin suits or holographic templates and our body simulators, right? And yeah, like it's really to like begin the process of moving past those judgments. But in first is recognizing that it was there, right? And there's a lot of programming that the collective consciousness been going through in regards to a lot of that, and those shadows are coming up now to be processed and looked at, right?
And we can thank
you know, yeah.
And
So even so it's a very interesting time, even with the whole thing with the I don't know what's the name, but Covert 19, right?
You adjusted it enough.
And
yeah.
I mean, no, well, but yeah, that even in that is kind of a clearing in itself too, if you look on it from the higher perspective. So it's gonna be a very interesting set of cycles playing out after this eclipse, and you know, coming into different types of energy. So yeah, it's really important for us to like pay attention to the emotions that are coming up within ourselves, and trying not to pass like a lot of judgment on other people, because on certain things, on certain ways they choose to express certain things. A lot of people going through a lot of stuff, like collective going through dark nights of the soul. Like just try to remember like what most of us may have gone through during our times of that process, and even currently know a lot of people maybe watching this thing going through it right now, and it's very important to address or to face what's going on inside of ourselves and begin the process of looking at it. And that was one of the biggest lessons even for myself going through my process. I realized, yo, like if you don't look at it, like the universe just cycles it for you. It's like, yo, you have to process this. We're gonna repeat this for you. We're gonna put you through a cycle again.
But this
So,
time, we're out of the cycle.
yeah, right.
At
So,
least we're opening.
and again, yeah, and again, is that linked to the same past frame of reference? So if you can imagine like a spike, well, imagine you're in the present. So when we're in the present, there's something in quantum physics called superposition, where everything exists at one time, right? So if you imagine yourself in the present moment is like a wave. So all possibilities exist simultaneously at once, right? But when we go into a past frame of reference or we hold on to something in the past, it right it so then we right so coming into this moment now, as we detach more from our past frames of reference, we begin to blend the timelines that are existing, right? And that's what we call a timeline collapse, and that in itself then unifies us and basically high rises our consciousness into a higher or the highest possible timeline, presently being able to exist here within this simulation or this reality or realm, right? So
I think that was a pretty good link to setting into ceremony.
Yeah.
So we'll be straight up with this. Like, although we have done this a million times in our own, I don't design ceremony when I'm working with somebody else before it comes through until it's the exact highest vibrational moment. and so we're doing this straight from the heart, straight from what is the highest vibrational alignment. And so we'll bring forward to you what is the best available harmonics and alignments based on the work that us and the soul groups that we are connected with have to offer. And so it's like 40 degrees Celsius here, and I don't know where my headphones are, so there's background noise. It's imperfect, but it's real. And really, I think most of what was very important about what we had to share, we've opened up in the space of that conversation. I think a lot of it has to do with the energetic space that we hold between our hearts right now. So if you're ready, I'll start it off and we'll just speak back and forth as we feel inspired. Does that work with you? I trust our flow. It's always worked before.
Yeah. So yeah, I actually wanted to, let me see. I don't have the book here though.
Do you have things that you want to write down and add to it?
Yeah, I had a book with like a time code, a code
Okay, pause. Okay, so hello. We took a break to get water and material. So Jerome and I are going to invite you to join us in forming your connection to your sacred space. I'm going to smudge real quick again for like the 100th time today. A lot easier whenever I'm in my dragon form because I can just then blow the smoke, which I prefer. So smudge us in the astrals. And so I'm going to invite everybody to join us in connecting to the 7D plus crystalline core of the earth. We're inviting you to meet us there because that is the platform of freedom. And so even if you're not quite yet there, we are helping you by opening up this space for those who are ready and connecting in their highest vibrational form with peace and love and personal growth and planetary change for the good as their intention. We are happy to offer those seeds to those who are ready to grow and change. And we do connect here because this is the reality from which we have been able to secure the purified energy. And so some people connecting to this ceremony might feel a whole lot of energy moving through them after it's over. And they might feel a whole lot of crying or maybe anger or remembering past life events or events in this life. And part of the reason why that's happening is because this is the energy that you need to be able to clear or understand to be able to receive your higher vibrational connection and stabilize there. And the way that Jerome and I work, it's complementary. And so one of us is usually supplying the codes and the source of connection to the next reality, while another one of us is serving as the bridge. And so we rotate as is necessary, and we're going to go ahead and do that today. So having said that, I'm going to invite everybody to return to your crystalline connection. I want you to connect to source. We're going to call in your aspects. Oh, there is a whole lot of soul fragments for a project that we've been working on that are ready to cross as we do this. And so we're going to welcome the soul fragments that have joined us for this solstice. Hi, Damien. Oh, perfect. Yes, it is Jerome. For the solstice and equinox crossing gateway. We come to you just after the moon Venus occult, just a few hours after, which was a time of energy reflection and purification for those of us connected to the divine feminine codes. We also had a period just a week before that and move into another one where we were examining Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter. There's a lot to do with the masculine codes, and Jerome and I come to you just as humble representatives and energy conduits of the purest source light we can get into us after working through this. Do you have anything you want to say before we move forward?
This will assist in the balance, the purification of both the divine masculine and feminine aspects of ourselves. Right? So yeah, prepare for it's going to be an interesting set of shifts that are going to occur within the consciousness, and to just allow this process to occur.
So the way that we're going to do this is a little different than the way that I normally do this when I work alone. And so Jerome and I are going to form a bridge. And we're going to open up that bridge. And within that bridge, you're going to see that our energy fields are going to merge to form a big, huge column of light. And this column is a set of purified energy codes. And the reason why we're doing it this way is because integration doesn't just mean understanding ourselves. That means understanding the spectrum. And so we're offering the double, we're offering also not only the codes of more integration of your own personal energy, but also because we are so passionate about social change, and we are so passionate about bringing about peace on this planet, as we talked about earlier in our broadcast. We also humbly offer you, information, purified information from the source code libraries that we've created for people to be able to understand and connect to this purified knowledge spectrum. This will help you, I guess, be more understanding, be able to see through the veil of a whole lot of layers of energy that are currently being shifted. And there are some people who are going to connect to this, that because of this are going to be receiving some of their soul pieces back. There's also going to be a few people who lose some because they've been holding on to the fragmented energy of souls that were tagged during colonial interactions, and in particular slave trading systems, which, you know I'm not going to be that popular to some of you for bringing that into this, but we are having an eclipse that is crossing over the continent of Africa at this time. We're in the middle of a freedom gateway where the people of planet Earth have called forward that we are putting the spotlight on racial inequality and the systemic injustice that sits underneath it. And so Jerome and I offer the spiritual perspective. And we very openly are going to now state that the Archon system in part was powered by the souls of slaves. And America as a country, for example, is not a bad country at all. In fact, it's a very powerful one. There are very powerful energy centers there that have a lot to do with the next steps of ascension. The movements and the very important conversations and political adjustments that are happening there are supportive and supporting astral freedom for a whole other group of people. And so just as we united to support the children, and just as we united to support women, I think we now unite to support releasing of slave energy. Includes people of all backgrounds, but in this particular one, because of who we are and what's going on, we focus on the Black bodies. Jerome, do you have anything you want to say? I know you're giving all your energy. I can feel it, man.
Yeah, it's a lot that's coming up in regards to a lot of the colonial connections with many of the countries involved, and it's definitely the time right now to, again, like I was saying before, like to address or like to pay attention to what may be coming up within us and allow these energies to process and purify, clear, come into balance. So right now we're witnessing a balance, in many different ways, right? So yeah, so that's
We offer that balance here. At least in part, as much as we can. So we're going to move. So like I said, we don't have an order. That was the one that needed to come forward first. Because right now, societal shifting, calling forth the solstice energy, calling forth the divine integration. We have to recognize that, like we said, integration has a lot to do with how we relate to one another as people, how we relate to one another as a population. And then, of course, now that we set that, we can begin. It's a little backwards, but it's not. We can begin with calling forward our personal activations of our highest pathway of activating of our integrated energy codes. If you're ready for that, are you ready for that, or do you have another step that you wanted to do? I know you had quotes and different things you wanted to integrate. And I'm going to keep, so while we're doing this, because we're in sacred space, your souls have joined us, obviously. And so we can, as you read, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull in another wave of the codes that we created, and I'm going to invite the people that are joining in to this broadcast to, with intention, be willing to receive those. And so what they are, as always with us, is a pure framework code, and it's designed to highlight their highest vibrational pathway potential, so long as that's what their intention is in receiving it. We have no interest in doing the free will, but because of our different backgrounds, genders, our different star backgrounds, our different lineages, we cover a pretty big group of people. And as I said earlier, other star lineages and different groups on the planet came forward and offered us our codes, and we've been working on integrating them for the last 10 days or so. And so we also offer the spark to go along with that. It's like a cornucopia, kind of. And so we also just want to also acknowledge that we have a group of people who are going to be working all weekend on this with us in terms of purifying these codes even more. This gets purified 5 or 6 times before it ever gets to the public. And so you are probably feeling a lot of things as you're watching this broadcast. I mean, we're in sacred space now, you're receiving upgrades and activations. A lot of you who will eventually come to this in person are here with us in the astrals. And so Jerome and I basically just have you in our crystal cave. You've walked through our entrance. You're in a crystal cave. We're chilling out. We're enjoying food. If you were with me, you would probably be smoking a joint or having a cup of tea. With Jerome, you'd probably be eating some form of vegan food. And what we're doing is we're connecting to our alignments without the distortion and the bullshit of duality and binary. You know, and like you said, this is how we move to recognizing that we are the collective. This is how we move to recognizing our own fully empowered embodied selves, piece by piece, being real with it when we get to it, whether that's within or without. And ultimately knowing that, yeah, the goal is oneness, but not a oneness that makes us all the same, a oneness that celebrates who we are as people and celebrates the variety of life.
We're various expressions of the source, right? And like I was saying earlier, like we have to unify within ourselves, unify within the collective before we could ever really start to converse with Star Nations,
I think in a way we're getting ready for it. I mean, I know you and I both already do this as part of that's how we know each other. That's how we met. But, I think ultimately it's an exercise in providing peace in the universe as well. Because as we know, for the most part, that already exists, at least on one harmonic. And we're you use the word convergence and conflation earlier. And in a way, right, we're creating it where we take groups or reality streams one thread by one thread by one thread. And, it takes time and love and peace and effort. And we also don't want to accidentally cause catastrophe. And so, this is something we're going to be continuing to work on until about 2026. But we're embodying that peace. And like you said, this as above, so below. And a lot of the things that we are working out in our society and our world right now are things that also happen throughout the universe. And if we remember our earlier work, like over the last few years, is right, we know that the earth is now the teaching ground. It used to be the experiment center, but now we teach them how to do it. And I think that's something that's really important. And so as we look around us and within us, and the shakeup is happening, and we got to look at how we do everything from how we refer to ourselves as a partner, how we refer to ourselves as a being, to how we refer to the words that we use and the practices that we hold. It's all to be rethought, but that's not meant to punish us, right? It's to free us. And so I've been having a really interesting time kind of taking it out of a political context, which, not that this whole conversation has been there, but space politics is involved. And that's where I come from big time, is space politics, and unplugging any soul-sucking mechanism from, like, nobody's going to take power from other people in any universe I exist in. No. But I mean, one of the other angles here is that the duality of thought mechanism is coming with a lot of people, and I've noticed in my community of students, maybe you've noticed this within yourself, limits and blockages, limiting perceptions, and how to fuse intuition with action has been coming up with a lot of people. So I've been noticing people kind of really working through that whole idea, well, like, of, say, receiving a vision versus visualization, and making a hard categorical decision, like delineation between it. And I'm like, well, whenever I'm building something with the crystal, I visualize that, and that's what makes it real. And then, and so, like, working on learning how to flow our new feminine energy, the new feminine upgrades of flow and creativity that came with Venus, but also I think learning how to be active, which is coming out with the masculine Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, integration, is learning new ways to act and speak. And we are being sort of clumsy sometimes as we do it. And that's all of us. And it's okay that we are clumsy. What matters is that we check ourselves to be the best that we can at it and call forth. So one thing I'm going to do is invite everyone to call forth highest vibration of crystalline ascension pathway trajectory available for each of us during this integration solstice gateway. And so remember, you're in the cave with Jerome and I, so we're going to just pull that energy in. And anybody wishing to receive the extra soul spark of power from us, we have technology and soul power here. So we're going to just open that for you.
Right. So what I'll say we could do is just begin by breathing deeply and begin the process of visualizing or envisioning your soul spark connecting to your source, allowing for the divinity within yourself to shine forward, allowing for the codes of activation to be reestablished in this now moment as we begin the process of balancing all aspects of ourselves throughout this planet, within ourselves, and within the cosmos. Right.
Balance
So
is
we're
the
gonna,
important part. Okay.
yep, but that's how all communication, balance and communication with everything is so important, because that's how we're able to understand and ground our knowing of what we're interacting with, even with a bottle of water, right? Communicate with it in its balance. So yeah, so what we're gonna do is do a couple codes in the focus of balance and purification within the consciousness, within the mind grid system, within the body activation system. Aligning to the codes of our highest aspect, aligning to the codes of the divine feminine, the divine masculine, allowing for any lower or slow pulsating rhythms within the light body to now move into a state of balance, a higher frequency, moving into awareness of who we are, not just as an individual, but as a collective, as expressions of our source. Allow the love to spring forth from within our hearts, activate our minds, not just the human mind, but the cosmic mind, connecting to our planet of origin and seeing that moving into balance, and also raising its frequency, observing the communication with our consciousness and asking for it to be strengthened each day as we become more aware of who we are from within. As we begin the process of untethering from past realities that no longer serve us moving forward. We ask that all realms of division or realms of distortion to be removed. And we allow the balance to enter our fields.
Are we ready for the timeline calling? Well delivered, my friend. You know, it's just wonderful whenever you're sitting there, supporting your friends, they're doing ceremony, and you're like, that's the exact word. That is so cool. I love that we're sharing this together, but also in front of people. I'm glad you have a gift, but you know that. It's what you came here for. So now that Jerome has led us through that, exactly what it needed to be, activation, that's going to remain open for the next 3 days. Remember that. This is not just he and I offering this. This is us representing collectives who have chosen also to allow us to represent them. And so there will be groups of people working on purifying these codes all weekend. And so you can come back to this practice or parts of it a couple of different times. You're going to receive this in layers. And so just know that this is kind of an influx that's going to come in waves, and that we are here. And all you need to do is connect in and ask for support from a unicorn, a dragon, or a waterfall, and you will receive assistance immediately. We will never leave you alone. And we also know that that information will only be used by people who truly require support and are calling for it out of heart's desire and pure free will intent. We will not be trapped, and our hearts and our love will not ever be usurped or used against us again. A big, huge part of the system that a lot of us have been unplugging from, and he and I will probably do more work on this publicly another time, is like the root heart system. We began with a root heart purification exercise that we've already done. We invite you to go to my YouTube page and check that out. We'll link it here as well. But we're also continuing to shift the population out of soul control, energy manipulation, and we're going to be continuing that journey through Lionsgate and through Solstice. So some of you are making it through the gateway right now while we're talking, and some of you are getting the codes how to get there as we talk. And like, we just want everybody to know you're not alone. And if it gets kind of weird or feeling, you get feeling a little weird and scary, just always connect to source and call through the energy of purification and love. That can't hurt you. And I know that, and we just, yeah, as you're moving through this and honoring this integration period, there are parts of the cosmos that don't always feel great. And there are parts of us that don't always feel great. But forgiveness and acceptance is important. Go for it.
Yep. So, yeah, just again, it's the allowance, like, just breathe it in.
So many crows are here right now with the souls. Just wanted to let you know.
Let's see.
So yeah, we got to go because the souls are here. So it's time. So we're going to now open up and call forth. This is the second part of our activity. You can join it if you want to. Don't if you don't feel inspired. This is a very light working focused specific activity. So this is going to have very specifically to do with calling forth the veil on soul control and slavery and working with the energy of solstice. So for consent, I'm going to open that up to the field and invite the collective of light workers of planet Earth and those who interact with us in support of our freedom and free will and autonomy to join us now. Different group, angel coming in. And so what we're going to do is we're going to connect into the middle of the crystalline core of the planet, and I'm going to invite each of us to get to our favorite sacred space, actually, energetically. So be that against a tree, the place you're sitting right now, your heart, whatever it is. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to get there. So it's not quite 30 seconds, but that's fine. I go quickly. And so are the people who are going to connect to this part. And I will write the exercise down maybe, but I just want to make sure this gets out because I have a lot of responsibility that I don't necessarily always have the ability to do computer stuff. So we'll get this done now. We're going to call forth the energy of releasing the veil on practices that suppress freedom, practices that deny free will, practices that enforce ideas of a lesser humanity or a lesser species. This includes in terms of colonial and neo-colonial control. Can you hear the crows? It also comes in terms of the energy of using certain people as test dummies and as guinea pigs for programs like vaccination. And what it means is releasing and bringing into awareness the activation or the ongoing presence of any organizations, political, economic, or otherwise, that are unfairly usurping the soul power, the energetic power, or the resources of this continent. Part of our work in bringing balance to planet Earth is recognizing that the continent of Africa is an incredibly valuable part of our planet. It has been mined of people and resources. It's been celebrated but also disregarded for its animal presence. And part of what has been going on for the last 6 months that hasn't really gotten talked about as much, I guess, in my work, but we have been doing it, is that Africa as a continent has been activating with a really specific big, huge beacon point going out from the Congo. And so I'm going to invite people if they want to join me with connecting to the activation point in the Congo. We're going to call forth as much energy of light as we can and intend that the energy of this solstice and eclipse activation is connected to and works through in its highest vibrational potential. So what we're doing as a group right now, and what I'm going to invite those of you who work on this, which is a whole lot of you, is to call forth and stream energy along with the eclipse and the solstice as it's happening. Watch the videos. Sit in from wherever you go to your sacred place outside and intend that this energy is directed in its highest vibrational form, the crystalline ascension pathway of the planet. Like Jerome was saying earlier, and as I return now, there's a lot of power coming. We know how to work with it. We can't make everything perfect, and we can't deny that sometimes there are ruffles that are going to happen. But we can definitely intend that they occur in the highest vibrational potential, and that we as a planet and as a collective are aware that we are moving through big change, that we as a group of really powerful co-creators can intend that it happens in its highest vibrational trajectory. And so I invite people to join me in setting that intent now and then returning it to it in the next couple of days. The gateway is open until the 23rd. Something else is coming on the 26th, not sure what that is quite yet, but we will be activating for another wave almost immediately. And so we recommend that you do this integration exercise. And the reason why we did it as we did, you can go to the meditative space that we created with you earlier. Jerome's words are the ones that you'll listen to for the divine integration upgrade, and my words are the ones for the light work. If you need to separate the two as part of your practice, that's totally fine. That's the benefit of having two voices and two energies present. Jerome, I think that's all I really needed to say about that. And like I said, I think a lot of it was us bringing this energy together for the hour or so we've been chatting now, and just sharing this energy. Because when we share truth to the collective and we speak with the peace and the love of all this stuff, you know what, another big part of what we came here for was just to give information and put it out there. And, you know, I've really enjoyed doing this with you. So please, any other comments you might like to share?
I'll just leave it off and saying, yeah, this again, this is the time for our unification within ourselves. We're activating very, very fast. We're definitely on the, well, how I perceive around, we are on an accelerated timeline, right? So don't allow the energy of the fear to overtake, right? And again, like, try to see it as a very exciting time, because we're moving into a golden, I think it's a golden age cycle in a way. So we're just witnessing the bringing down of the old structure and the shifting into a new wave, a new cycle, moving into the water, to the flow of creation, right? So we just have to open our hearts and receive these gifts of divine grace within the balance of co-creation. So yeah, it was an honor coming on and speaking and doing the activations here. So, and we, as Katie was saying, we're here to support, and you can reach out to any of the two of us, right? So yeah.
We are here, and so I'm going to disconnect and recommend that you do the same. We disconnect our energies, connection that we made for the purpose of holding space in this way, with the people who show up as the collective astrally, or also connect to this as the collective who sees this video. We are, like he said, we're available. So Jerome is Unified Energetics. Crystalline Living is his podcast on Spotify. He's on Facebook. He's on YouTube. He does sessions and holds great space. And so I know that a lot of, like, you know, it's not all about bodies, but I know that a lot of people who are men sometimes have a difficult time finding a down-to-earth grounded man to talk to. And that sometimes it's really important. So again, I honor you for being willing. And also, one thing I want to say that I loved about our broadcast is that integration wasn't about this masculine and feminine. It was about star groups. It was about different ways you can identify and be identified on this planet. It was definitely about masculine and feminine, all the way that went. And, you know, so I'm really glad that we expanded in our conversation and made that bode well for the way that we understand and experience integration in the years to come. Because, you know, I was always a fan of the idea that this is an amazing tapestry, and that the coolest things that we can learn about the universe, the best lessons I get are from hanging out with people like you and hearing your story and seeing the world through your eyes and listening. And the more that we realize that these different stories from other people and different ways of being with the tools and with the star groups are assets, and complementary, and not necessarily things we have to feel worried about or compare ourselves to or feel compared with, the better we're going to do as a collective of beings who are here ultimately to take care of this planet, and many of us design the universe. So having said that, I'm going to disconnect the recording. So thank you to those joining the recording.